All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're exploring a truly gripping tale of grief, divine mechanics, and, well, inescapable destiny. We're pulling this straight from the ancient texts of the Mahabharata, specifically looking at the Astika Parva. It's a story where a profound, intensely personal tragedy triggers an event of literally apocalyptic proportions. We're going to see exactly how an ancient king attempts to use all of his royal power and some incredibly intense sacred rituals to try and bend fate to his absolute will.
Wow. Okay, so this quote really sets the stakes right out of the gate. We are introduced to King Janamejaya. He is known as the tiger of the Bharata race, the son of Parikshit, and he is just completely reeling from his father's murder by the snake Takshaka. But notice the language he uses here. He doesn't just want a simple execution, right? He's demanding a very specific, almost poetic retribution. Because his father was killed by the fiery poison of the snake, Janamejaya wants to use literal blazing fire to consume Takshaka and, well, his entire family.
So that brings us to Section 1, a king's demand for revenge. Let's look at how this builds. To see how this personal tragedy snowballs into a sweeping royal decree, just look at the king's absolute unwavering focus. He's gathered his ministers who are totally backing him up on this. But here's the thing. A king can't just perform sacred rituals all by himself. So he summons his chief priest and his ritwiks. These are men who are highly accomplished in speech in ancient scripture. And he issues this incredibly direct command, tell me what I must do. He's not asking them if revenge is possible. He is demanding the exact, concrete method to cast his enemy into the fire. Which leads us perfectly into Section 2, the ultimate snake sacrifice. Now, what's absolutely fascinating here is the massive contrast between what the king wants and what he gets. It's the ultimate intersection of mortal anger and divine law. The king's goal? Super straightforward. It's bloody vengeance. He literally just wants to burn a snake. But then look at the priest's method. The chief priest doesn't just say, okay, let's go chop its head off. He answers the king with something ancient, divine, and frankly a little terrifying. He reveals this grand snake sacrifice, an epic ritual devised by the gods themselves and written about in the ancient Puranas. So the priests are essentially taking a son's raw, personal grief and elevating it into a massive cosmic event. And this part brilliantly illustrates the dynamic between these spiritual advisors and the monarch. The chief priest uses this exact moment to just deeply validate the king's power. By telling Janamejaya, you are the only mortal capable of pulling this off, the priest completely locks the king into doing the ritual. The king hears this, and the text actually notes that he instantly assumes that Takshaka is basically already burned and thrown into the blazing mouth of Agni. So, with his ego fully stroked and his path set, the king orders the preparations to start immediately. All right, moving on to Section 3, preparing the sacred platform. So constructing this sacrificial platform wasn't just, moving some dirt around. It was a highly precise spiritual science. It's like a giant puzzle. These 3 rigorous steps show us exactly how the priests, who were incredibly well-versed in the Vedas, translated scriptural rules into physical reality. Step 1, they measure the land strictly by the ancient texts. Step 2, they deck the platform out with immense wealth, valuable articles, paddy, and seated brahmanas, fully readying the space. And finally, step 3, the stage is set to officially install the king for the sacrifice. Every single detail is controlled, measured, and just completely perfected. But, of course, nothing is ever that simple. Welcome to Section 4, a prophecy of failure. Right as this massive ritual is about to kick off, the narrative takes a really sharp turn. I want you to ask yourself this overarching question. When a monarch has basically unlimited resources, divine rituals devised by the gods themselves, and the smartest priests in the entire land, is that actually enough to guarantee success? Because right before the king's installation, we meet this fascinating wild card, the Suta builder. As the platform is going up, this guy steps forward. Now, he isn't just a regular contractor laying bricks. The text specifically highlights his great intelligence. Yes, he knows how to lay foundations, but he is also intimately acquainted with the Puranas. He actually possesses this unique ability to read the spiritual and physical signs of the earth as it's being shaped. And based on that specific expertise, he just drops an absolute bombshell on the king's flawless plan. Here is the breakdown of his prophecy. And keep in mind, he doesn't use magic. He uses observation. He analyzes the soil where the measurement was made. He notes the exact time the construction started. And from just those 2 data points, he makes a devastating prediction. This grand, God-devised sacrifice will not be completed. Period. And to top it off, he identifies the exact nature of the threat, stating that a Brahmana will be the ultimate cause of the obstruction. Man, imagine being King Janamejaya in this exact moment. You are quite literally seconds away from achieving the epic vengeance you've been dreaming of, only to be told that the earth itself and the flow of time are working against you. In this desperate split-second bid to cheat fate right before he's installed, the king issues a sweeping, final order. He commands his gatekeepers to initiate a total, absolute lockdown of the sacrificial grounds. Nobody, absolutely nobody, is getting in without his express, personal knowledge. He literally believes he can physically barricade his ritual against a prophesied threat. So we'll wrap up this explainer with a final, lingering thought for you. King Janamejaya has the ancient scriptures, he's built the perfect platform, and now he has heavily guarded, locked gates. But if the soil itself and the exact timing of the construction have already decreed that a Brahmana is going to ruin the sacrifice, can a king's royal decree and a couple of locked doors truly hold back an ancient prophecy? It's a profound question about the limits of human power in the face of destiny, and honestly, it's exactly what makes diving into these source texts so incredibly rewarding.